So often when discussions of exemplary individuals within the Halo universe come up, the vast majority of conversations default to Master Chief. Understandably so, he is the most prominent Spartan II super soldier, one of the most decorated soldiers in the UNSC, and is ultimately the saviour of humanity several times over. However, it is worth bearing in mind that there are a plethora of other individuals in the Spartan programs, the ODSTs, Navy, Marines and Army that all have immensely impressive service records, skills and abilities that go relatively unnoticed and often overshadowed by the accomplishments of the Master Chief. Well, I figured I'd make a start at changing that. So join me today as we begin a new journey into lore and theory and give exemplary individuals within the UNSC their due. Today, let's look at Fred-104. Lieutenant Junior Grade Frederick-104, born Frederick or Fred Ellsworth, is a Spartan II super soldier of the UNSC Naval Special Warfare Command. Fred-104 is a tactically proficient and strategically capable leader, having displayed these characteristics throughout the Human Covenant War, while simultaneously serving as an incredibly effective combatant. Fred specializes in strategy, information management, and using his leadership skills to transform disparate combat units into a comprehensive fighting force, even when he only has access to the barest information on troop dispensation. Fred has a stabilizing influence on the morale of those under his command, a trait that is of interest to the Office of Naval Intelligence psychologists. During his training, Fred quickly proved himself to be one of the Spartan II program's top candidates. Both Dr. Halsey and Chief Mendez identified him as one of 4 emergent leaders within the program's candidates, alongside Kurt 051, Jerome 092, and John 117. Although his conscription into the Spartan II program prevented him from living a normal life, Fred feels no resentment towards Halsey or Mendez. He believes that if he were to have lived a normal life, he might have been killed by the Covenant, and his career as a Spartan has instead enabled him to fulfill his full potential. In an interview with Dr. Veronica Clayton, Fred stated that he would never ask to change who he was and was proud to be a Spartan. When given the offer to access his file on his origins and his past life, Fred declined. Although Fred's service with the UNSC throughout the insurrection and Human Covenant War has left him as a highly decorated individual, he refrains from wearing his awards. Often serving as a leader of a Spartan fire team, Fred has been noted to take the responsibility of his command with grim seriousness, empathizing too deeply with any wounded members of his team. During the fall of Reach, Fred's quick thinking and leadership ensured that the entirety of Red Team escaped their doomed Pelican before it was destroyed, though the resulting landing led to the deaths of 4 Spartans. Despite support from other Spartans that Fred had prevented the death of the entire team, he blamed himself for the deaths of these Spartans and felt disgusted with himself. After the death of Josh 029, Fred bitterly thought to himself that Joshua's life was not worth the lives of 10,000 Covenant soldiers killed in the same explosion. Ultimately, the fall of Reach saw the highest single death count of Spartan IIs, which severely affected Fred. In following engagements, he learned to adapt to severe casualties on the battlefield, and is by many considered the most capable fireteam leader of all Spartans. Fred has since become confident in his role as a leader and in the tactical decisions he made. Fred is an incredibly skilled close-quarters combatant and has gained a reputation for preferring combat knives in combat scenarios. When partnered with the power, precision, and strength of Mjolnir, Fred is capable of wielding combat knives in a horrifically lethal and scarily precise nature. Indeed, while aboard the Pillar of Autumn on August 30th, 2552, as detailed in Chapter 1 of Halo First Strike, Fred twirled a combat knife in his fingers, nimble despite the bulky Mjolnir combat armor that encased his body. The blade traced a complicated series of graceful arcs in the air. The few remaining naval personnel on the deck turned pale and averted their eyes. A Spartan wielding a knife was generally accompanied by the presence of several dead bodies. While the rest of the team readied their gear, he balanced the point of the knife on his armoured fingertip, and it hung in the air for several seconds, perfectly still. A subtle shift in the Pillar of Autumn's gravity caused the knife to tip. Fred seamlessly plucked it from the air and sheathed it in a single, deft move. In close-quarters combat situations, Fred was capable of taking down half a dozen Sangheli using only his combat knives, and is even on record at taking down several Jiralhanae with his combat knives, despite the Jiralhanae being significantly more powerful than Spartans. Although he favours close quarters and mid-range combat, Fred is also a very proficient long-range combat operative. Aside from Linda 058, Fred is the Spartan II's second best sniper and their best spotter. Fred is a natural leader and a brilliant strategist, highly intelligent, alert, and objective-focused during operations. Fred often appears solemn and stoic when interacting with other personnel of the United Nations Space Command. However, he had difficulty hiding his emotions at times, a trait that Dr. Catherine Halsey was aware of. A quick thinker, Fred has learned to rely on his instincts while on patrol or in the heat of a battle, noting that instinct had saved his life from dozens of ambushes. His augmentations and training has crafted Fred into one of the UNSC's greatest military minds. He is very observant. After years of watching soldiers face their fears, Fred is able to identify telltale signs of individuals encountering their fears and weaknesses, such as loss of focus and body tension. He did not always agree with or trust the judgment of his commanding officers, though Fred remains respectful to his superiors. However, he refuses to be intimidated by key Tapper officers, jesting that the day he is will be the day he turns in his armour and resigns. Despite his stoic and serious demeanour, Fred occasionally makes jokes or sarcastic quips in the midst of battle or a mission, once jesting to Major Ira Halal that it is an operational bug. A superb soldier, even for a Spartan II, and an excellent strategist, Fred's quick thinking has ensured his success in battle on numerous occasions. While Fred's combat prowess is never subject to question, his true specialty lies in strategy and leadership. During training contests, he almost always came in second place. John believed that Fred had the skill to come in first in these competitions, but Fred did not care for the resulting attention. John assumed that Fred had the ability to rival himself in any set of skills, a non-verbalized compliment that, when coming from somebody like the Master Chief, demonstrates just how exemplary Fred-104 truly is. Thanks for watching. Stick your comments down below, I look forward to what you have to say. Just going to shout out my patrons and YouTube members Neek the Silent Cartographer, Siphonic Storm and Todd Morrison, my Tier 0 Transcentients, Brian, Sebastian, Red Sea, Darian, Stalker of the Realms, Falcon X003, Alvin, Mr. Fell, Flaming Halo, Starlight, Legion's Lost, Josh, Kyle, the TG7, Cat Herder Cam, Schneidish, Leon, Ignizzle, Chris Spartan 118 and Cooper, the Holders of the Mantle, my Glorious Reclaimers, my loyal Metarchs, and all the other patrons and members that have jumped aboard to support the channel. If you like Halo lore discussed to insane levels of detail, hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon so you're told the second a new video hits the shelves. Be sure to support us on all major social media channels including Discord, and if you really love the channel, consider heading over to Patreon and supporting the channel over there, or jumping on as a channel member. It would mean the world to me and afford you loads of great perks and bonuses while also helping work towards some awesome stuff in the near and distant future. Take it easy everyone, and find peace in the domain.